All right. Hi guys, how are you? So nice to connect to you. Welcome to this video and welcome to this interview. My name is Laura from Pleiadian Healer, and today I have Sonia from the Tree of Knowledge on again. Hi Sonia, how are you?
Hi, how are you, Laura?
Good. Yeah, so we already talked beforehand. I was trying to actually put something out in my Telegram group if anyone had questions for you or whatever. So we got a few questions there. And we also got, on the last video that was, it's still up on my main channel, there's a few questions too. But we can just randomly talk about other stuff beforehand as well. I actually want to say that your video was taken down on my backup channel, actually.
My video was taken down on my channel too. I'm glad you still have one standing.
Yeah, and I think it's simply because you're probably on their radar somehow. And once you uploaded it and they kind of just, determined it's not what they want, and then everyone else uploads it afterwards somehow. So mine got taken down on the backup channel. But yeah, very annoying. Yeah.
I am on their radar. I noticed that when I first started my channel, I was being recommended to everyone. And then I started running my mouth. And as soon as I started running my mouth, pretty much my first couple of videos, maybe the fourth or fifth video, I noticed that I was being monitored. And at that point, my videos started coming down.
Yeah.
I probably lost 11 to 15 videos they've taken down. I don't know. There was a couple of times where I had videos taken down and they went ahead and took another video down, but I never lost my channel, and somebody's got my back because I should have lost my channel several times. I already had 2 strikes.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah. So for people who don't know you yet, can you maybe briefly summarize what you discuss on your channel? Because I know I got a few new followers lately, and I'm sure people want to know what exactly you do. Actually, I always wanted to ask you, the Tree of Knowledge, how did you come up with that name? Like, is it, what is it?
I did not come up with that name.
Okay.
That name was given to me by Arthur, which is Zanvast. I was talking to him all the time, and he's like, Sonia, you need to go and have a channel name. And I'm like, well, how about my name? He goes, nah, you need a real channel name. And I said, well, I have no idea. He goes, well, I've got one for you. So he's like, what do you think about this? And it's like, isn't that kind of, I don't know, isn't that kind of showy? Isn't that kind of whatever? And he's like, no, it really fits you. And it's like, well, you know, that has significant meaning in other things. And he's like, I know, that's why I want to give it to you. And I'm like, okay, we'll see how that goes over.
What does the Tree of Knowledge mean? Is that similar to the Tree of Life? No.
The Tree of Life is about, I would say the Tree of Life is more about how you live, what you do in your reality. And the Tree of Knowledge is about what's given you, what's already there, and what is to be discovered, and what's buried and needs to be uncovered. So it's different. Knowledge and life. One is living as the female emotion, the mover, that's life. And the other one is stagnant, logic, the male, the knowledge. It doesn't move, it's there, it's inherent. It's just, there is a difference.
Yeah. Okay, so you had something in your last video regarding being underground, really. So the reality that we're in is that we are beneath the water. We're not actually like above the water or the same height as the water and then the sky's above us, but we're somewhere underground in these underground caves. Do you want to elaborate on that? Or
yeah, I was talking to my daughter Wendy. She's just turned 31, and we had both been thinking this for a while, but we had never said anything. So, our lives get in the way. We do things. We've had a lot of stuff going on. Well, I did a video and I happened to mention that what if the lie was we came above? when all the while we're still underground, because there is more under Gaia, inside of Gaia, than there is above. The stuff above is a lot, but nothing compared to inside. Think of an ice cube. You're going to take an ice cube, a round ice cube, or you can make it any shape you want. And the surface on top of the ice cube is only this, yet you've got the whole ice cube. Well, that's Gaia. There's more usable space inside of Gaia than there is on any given surface of Gaia. So it was just, it kept gnawing on me that why the holographics, why the charade, why the dome, why all of it? Why would you want to really dome off something that's on the bigger Earth? And I do understand that there are domes on the bigger Earth, the flat surface, but there would also be domes inside if you were trying to give an illusion about something, since everything is holographic. You could, if you wanted to make something inside feel like you're not claustrophobic, feel like you have a reality because something happened topside, you're going to try to mimic it as much as possible so you don't get claustrophobia, so you don't go nuts. You know? So just looking down this avenue, it's really strange because every time I remote view, which that's what I do, I remote view. Sometimes I can see things, sometimes I can't. I mean, if I'm blocked from it for some reason, it's really hard for me to undo my own blocks. For my personal self, I have lots of blocks. I just can't, it's like a cheat sheet and I can't just look at everything. But every time I remote view, I always see it's pitch black and there's water, salted water above us. And when I go even out of that, it's just the void. So that's very different, isn't it?
Yeah. So basically, so according to that, we're underground. But how did we get underground? Did you see anything on that? Or
I do know that most civilizations live underground because it's safer. Topside, you're actually exposed to anything and everything that's out there coming down on you, coming around you, blah, blah, blah. It's not as safe. It would be very safe in here if they didn't weather manipulate, and they have machinery that actually go against what we are in here. We used to be a unified area in here where we would have one temperature, it was ambient. Everything grew in this ambience. There was no rain like that. Everything had a thick moisture in the twilight of evening. We didn't have extremes. All of this has been done intentionally to break us down, kill us. I hate to say that, but it's true. Think about all the weather that kills us, destroys everything we have. It keeps us from becoming more than we are, because we're always having to do, you know, hand to mouth, always thinking about, I got to have shelter, I got to have this. Well, what if your environment was perfect and you didn't have to have shelter? You could be outside, you know. There's a lot of things that have been, and we can even go into what has been done to us so that we do have issues. When you're taking things like insects and you're bioweaponing them to be your enemy, think of the mosquito alone, which was only for the cocoa bean, and then they genetically engineered it and used it like a flying syringe. And all of a sudden you have malaria, you have West Nile virus, and you have, you know, all kinds of terrible things, the Zika virus. I mean, our environment has been pretty much set against itself and us also by these controllers. It's quite hideous.
yeah. With malaria though, is malaria really the bad thing that they make it out to be, or is it just like an infection somehow? Because I don't know.
I think of most infections as literally parasites, parasitic on a really small level. Bacteria is like a parasite.
Yeah.
You know, when they say viruses, there's no such thing as, okay, I can't say that because I'll get taken down. There's no such thing as this. But if I wanted you to believe it, it gives me more power, because then I can do other things biologically and say, oh, it's the big getting you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mad.
Because with malaria specifically, the medication makes you actually more sick than the actual disease or whatever, supposedly.
What is that? Hydrochloroquine. Anything that kills parasites. Isn't it funny how that solves a lot of things?
Right.
So a lot of the bacteria are parasites. I mean, and that's why you can take Diatomaceous earth, or you can take borax, or you can take hydrochloroquine and a plethora of others. Why did they yank all that stuff off the market? Because they didn't want people to fix themselves by taking a simple, tested parasite killer.
Yeah, you had the Dorito parasite or something, right? Like a few.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I did not label that the Dorito parasite. Arthur does all of my on every one of my videos. He'll watch them, and he's the one that labels all my videos.
Oh,
And
really?
when he had labeled that, I started cracking up. I'm like, yeah, I guess it does kind of look like a Dorito.
Well, how was that in your body again? Like, what was the story behind that?
Well, I was taking borax and
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't paying attention, and I ended up putting too much into my tea. My tea tasted a little bit salty because it's a salt. And I went ahead and I'm like, oh, well, whatever. I'll just drink the tea because I didn't want to waste it. So after I started drinking my tea, I drank like half a gallon in the day. And the next morning, that stuff was in my stool. And it's like, whoa. I was like, whoa. Now you can take too much of anything. I suggest if you're going to do borax, it's just a pinch in your drinks and then a little bit on a shaker on your food, not much, because you can overdo anything.
Yeah, I took borax back in 2017, and for me it tastes very soapy, so I just didn't like the taste at all. So I just started doing diatomaceous earth and other things. But I don't know, I just didn't like the soapy aftertaste of it. But I also took like an entire either teaspoon or like yeah, it wasn't just a pinch. No, it was like a teaspoon because I found it online. Yeah. But I just didn't like the taste of it. Didn't try a pinch yet. I don't know.
Yeah, that's way too much. My gosh.
I took it for like 2 weeks or so, I think. And then after that, I was like, yeah.
No, it's no different than overeating salt. I mean, it'll dry you out. No. Oh my gosh, no, that's too much.
Yeah. Well, diatomaceous earth also can dry you out, to be honest with you, because it's meant to dry out your entire gut area. So it's very hard to do in the summer, especially when it's so hot right now. By the way, because we're kind of like in similar areas, what's your take on the heat that's been going on for the past month or so? Like I had like native New Yorkers like ask me if I thought it was normal and everything. You know, for me personally, I remember, because I've been here for a little while already, I remember like super hot summers. Like back in 2010, we had like 3 months of heat. So I don't know, but then other summers weren't as hot. So I don't, yeah, it just feels, it does feel a bit extreme. Like the grass is very yellow for sure. But
I blame that. I really blame that on the 3 suns we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with the sun you can see. We're dealing with the black sun, which comes out usually at night. It was from a different part of our snow globe, and it's now where we are at night. You can actually see if you go out at night and it's a clear sky, because this is another reason why they keep chemtrailing to hide that. You know how you have lines or shadows from the white sun and you have dark shadows? Well, the black sun actually gives off black shadows where you can see rays of black shadow at night. It's like, what? And that's what's also been heating things up at night too. It's not as prevalent as it was because it comes and it goes because it's on some kind of a cycle of how it moves. But a couple months ago in the spring, it was really noticeable when it would be hotter at night than it was in the day. And it's like, well, go figure that one. It's the black sun. And then there's the third sun. And the third sun is the green sun because it's on the rise. The aurora borealis, Why do you think that's all green up there? There is a place where it opens up and the sun goes in and out of Gaia, and that thing is rising, and that's our green sun. And that's another contributing factor to the heat. And I don't think almost anyone knows about the green sun. And that's also being hidden.
I've been to Iceland like 3 times, and I did see the Northern Lights over there. They're kind of, I mean, the way they're explaining it is just the interaction between the winter and all of that too. But back then I didn't look at it in terms of sun or anything. Have you seen the Northern Lights yet? No, probably not.
No, I'm not in the area for it. So I remote view it, and then I can see what's happening is there's a green sun, and it does this, it comes up and then it goes back down, but it takes a really long time for it to come back up, because the inside, the hollow earth, or whatever you want to call it, Gaia, it's quite enormous, and it's bigger. It's so much bigger than our tiny little place that we're at. So there's like a big thing where it can go up and down, but it does take time for it to do this. It doesn't happen every couple, maybe 100 years. It's on a really slow cycle.
But you only see it in the northern countries.
Yeah.
Or actually down below too.
Yeah.
Someone
Yeah. Because of the openings, and it's shining through. It's just like if our sun was shining, and like if you had a building and there was a building in front of the sun from where your perspective is, and you can see it going around your building, but yet you're in the shade. It's kind of like how we are. It's got stuff that blocks it from going everywhere. Instead of going like this one above us, the sun, where the light, you can see the sun and it's all like this. Well, this thing's over here, and all you're seeing is the backlight of it. And that's why it's really picking up in the north and the south.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, see, every time, because I actually went to Iceland in the winter. Are you still there? You're kind of frozen. Hope you're still there. All right. Okay, so you were just gone. Yeah, interesting. The quality also isn't too good in this video. I'm wondering if they're doing that because you had troubles logging into the Zoom is what you
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
I did.
yeah. Oh my goodness.
I will tell you, my phone just shut itself off.
Really?
My phone, whoever's controlling my phone keeps, every time I'm having an in-depth conversation with somebody, boom, my phone's shut off. It's off.
Yeah, they're definitely controlling electronics for sure, because sometimes, I don't know if I told you this, but I know I told other people, I have like tape all over my phone, like on the cameras back and front. So they can't, at least they can't view, you know, and so whenever, like I've caught my phone literally just sitting somewhere, I'm not touching it, and all of a sudden the camera goes on. And I'm like, I didn't touch it. It's like a few meters away from me, you know, a few feet away from me. And I'm like, who's doing that? Like, and then I actually asked people who deal with cybersecurity and everything. And they were like, oh, it's just a system error, or, you know, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I don't think so. No, I think someone's trying to see what I'm doing, but because I have tape all over my camera screens, not my screen, my cameras, they can't really do that. So very interesting stuff. I believe
mine is even worse. I have caught, now physically caught, my phone is being monitored 24/7, and I have done videos, and I'll have a glitch, and I can hear the people watching me in the background, and it's recorded. You can hear their voices talking. It's like,
Yeah. I think a lot of it is definitely AI, especially when they're just monitoring like all the other people. But at one point, they probably just, you know, progress it to real people. So
yeah,
it's freaky. It's really freaky.
yeah.
My phone's turned off at night. Like it's in a pouch. It's turned off.
Mine too. Mine too. I put it in its little Faraday cage. I turn it off. I put it on airplane mode.
Yeah.
And put it in the Faraday cage, because no, I'm not having it.
Yeah. Sometimes I can't even turn mine on airplane mode anymore. It's a glitch in the system, so I have to turn it off completely. But whatever.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because they don't want it turned off. But yeah, so much to that. Now, back to like the Northern Lights thing. So I went to Iceland like 3 times, and typically in the winter. So I went like December, February, and one time was April. So it was kind of like the end of the winter. But I do have to say that watching the Northern Lights there is like pure luck, basically, because of the sky conditions and all of that. So you basically, if you're just planning on going to those areas to watch the Northern Lights or chase the Northern Lights, you're almost out of luck, because it's like, it's pure coincidence that you'll even see them. But they definitely have like the dancing lights, the you know, what you see when you look at pictures online, like the greenness and everything. Usually when I saw it, you could barely see it. The camera picks up on it more, so it literally just looked like a sliver of green or whatever. But yeah, I don't know what to think about it. It's nature. I don't know, or nature. Yeah.
Well, the only thing I say is, remember, everything is an inversion.
Yeah, I know.
They always make up their stories and say, yeah, that's it.
Right. Yeah. So the sun that we see right now, some people are saying they remember the sun looking different in the 80s and 90s and all of
Oh
that.
yeah, it was a yellow sun, not white.
Okay. So you were actually able to look into this, like, are you able to look into the sun without harming your
No, I would never suggest looking into the sun anymore. Those sun gazing days need to be over. You're going to damage your retinas, your corneas. It's not from 30 years ago. It's not the same sun. No. And don't forget, there's a lot of shenanigans going on. Why does everybody have to make sun simulators and put them up? China, Russia, us. Why? You have to question this also.
Yeah, they just had this article from, I came across it again, from 2020, where Korea had like this artificial sun somehow. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. And it's out there in the open, like in the news.
Yeah.
You just don't realize. Yeah.
No. And then when you tell some of these normies about this stuff, they just look at you like you're insane, because they haven't got a clue.
Right.
And it's with a lot of things. The more knowledge you garner, the less you can be duped. And it's as simple as that. And I'm telling you, just getting stuff off of the internet, that's really bad. I mean, because Wikipedia is constantly changing things.
Yeah.
The internet is, well, you know, we have a dead internet anyway, and most people haven't got a clue about why it's a dead internet, because there is only so much space on that internet. And even though you might have, where you look something up and they say there's 1,000 things, you go into it, you'll find out you only got a couple hundred. So where's the rest of it? It's a dead internet. They're getting rid of everything they can't hold, because they can't put something new on, because there's too much in the back and they've only got so much space parameters. And that's why it's a dead internet.
Really? I didn't even know that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I didn't know they only had like a limited amount of space.
They have a limited amount. Why do you think they wanted to turn so many people into, when they were talking about turning people into AI bots, because they could use us as the new data banks.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Makes sense? I mean, all of a sudden, if you have all these little data banks, which is your brain,
right,
and you can load up information into these little data banks, you have just enlarged your entire cloud.
Right. Yeah.
So that was also an agenda by that Elon idiot Musk.
Yeah. The brain chip. Yeah.
Oh, well, don't even get me started on him. He is not a good guy.
And the entire Mars agenda too. So what do you think about Mars?
I think Mars is on the bigger Earth. I'll look at our space as mythology. Yeah. Mars, Pluto, Uranus, Saturn. You might as well call them places, because they're on the bigger Earth. They're not out there somewhere. They're this way. They're not that way. And they certainly aren't round balls in a space where you've only had pictures that were either drawn or painted, or we don't have any real pictures of anything. It's all things that were created and given to you to say, this is space.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you look at a picture of all these planets, it almost looks ridiculous. I mean, it's like, oh, okay, so you do like the circle and the circle around Saturn or whatever.
I just saw an article the other day where some scientist cut a pepperoni, sliced it up, took a picture of it, and said he found a new planet. He got called out on it.
Wow. Makes sense.
How gullible. That's another thing. Do you remember when you were small and people would say something wild? They say, "Ah, you believe that? You're gullible."
Oh, yeah.
Everybody has become gullible in this reality anymore. Anything that somebody with a diploma who paid for it because they say so is credited. Now you have to believe me.
Well, there are plenty of other people with diploma speaking out against it, but they're just censored left and right. So it's
Oh yeah.
whatever, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just a mess. So what I kind of got that the entire star thing that we see around us, it's all kind of like an overlay or projection or whatever. Kind of like
planetarium.
A what?
Planetarium.
Yeah.
No different than when you go to school and you sit in the planetarium, except that this one's on a higher scale.
or that they take like a projector and just kind of, this is like the mass screen somehow, and it's projected onto there, something like that. Yeah. So do you think we just have to go through the water somehow to get to that other part, or because basically what we're seeing as the sky, it could be the water, or we're not even really seeing the water above us?
Yeah, I tell you, we're not seeing anything above us. That's all projected. That whole blue, it could be any color, which is why sometimes it becomes many colors.
Right.
I mean, if it was truly blue, how's it going to be purple or red or pink or orange or any of these? Right. Because think about this. They're telling you this crap about, oh, when the sun is over here, then it projects this color. And then when it's high, it projects this color. Actually, what would it matter where the sun is? They always make up some kind of crap to tell you, to explain away the colors. I mean, the colors alone should be a big hello. Why would it change? Because when it's here to here, it's blue. And from here to here, it's now different colors. Why? I have always heard, well, it's the dust in the atmosphere and it's causing the colors. Wait a minute. It's the same sun rays. It's the same everything. Why would it change colors? It doesn't really make sense when you think about it. The dust, went away for the day? So that's why we have blue skies? Did it take a hiatus somewhere?
They were actually spraying the skies today. I just had to think about that when you were saying chemtrails and everything too. And the only reason I know is because I'm walking my pet and she sneezes. Like she sneezes every time there's something in the air.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
it's always a good indicator because they pick up on that like way more than, yeah.
Oh yeah, especially with their olfactory sensory. I mean, theirs is phenomenal. Dogs, wow. Well, most animals anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if it's only one sneeze, okay, whatever. But if it's more than one and it's like constant, I'm like, okay, there's something in the air. Yeah.
Yeah, get indoors quick.
Yeah.
So what questions did you want to ask me?
Okay, so there was a question below the last video too that had to do with blood types as well. Let me just pull it up real quick. So someone's saying, can you please do a video or just discuss the Rh negative bloodlines or just blood types in general, maybe? Do you know anything about that, or do you want to speak?
Yeah, I actually do know a little bit about that. I had done a video on this in one of my beginning videos because I was really curious about the blood type. What stunned me was when I was watching Campbell Purvis on Autodidactic, and he had a woman on there called Kelly, and I really like her. And she mentioned that the Aboriginals have null, N-U-L-L blood. It has no rhesus factor, positive or negative. And boy, did I start looking into that. So basically, all humans at one time never had the rhesus factor. We were null, just like the Aboriginals. And we were tampered with. If you go back far enough, you'll realize that the positive were first, and then came the negative, because the negative's pretty new on the scene compared to the positive. Because if they weren't new on the scene, you would have just as many negatives as positives, but we don't have that. So then you have to go and say, well, why did they take a species, that would be us, and give us a rhesus factor to begin with when we never had one? And I saw that it was another manipulation of a takedown. So if you don't have the rhesus factor, when they put that into us genetically, it made us have more health issues. All of a sudden, we're having health issues where we never were. We were in a more perfect body before they did that, and it was a takedown. So when we returned, part of our populace was taken up, and then they returned to the negative. A lot of people think they were told that the negatives were here first. No, that's not true. They weren't. We had no rhesus factor. That was the first. So the negative ones were actually done by the group of reptilians. They wanted to hitch a ride, if you would say that, to a group of people, because the negative carry a lower blood temperature, you know, like 98.6 would be normal for most humans, where if you're in the negative range, you're all the way down to 96 or 97. In that dropping of the temperature is because of the reptilian interference. They were putting their own blood into the bloodlines to get it into a negative rhesus factor. Because if you look at monkeys, they don't come positive and negative. They call it a negative rhesus factor, but really it has nothing to do with the rhesus factor. It was just another manipulation of the bloodline. So we have to go back and look how everything was labeled to begin with and know that everything's a lie and an inversion. If I wanted you to believe that this was normal, I'm going to call everything a rhesus factor, when in reality, no, it's two different factors altogether. They're not even in the same petri dish. It's the manipulation.
And didn't they also say that the Aborigines were like the DNA wise the original DNA or
yes,
something? Is that
they're the Aboriginal ABO originals. Literally.
so?
They weren't the only ones.
Is that blood type AB?
No, they're blood. They have all the blood types, O, A, B,
Okay.
AB, but they don't have the rhesus factor.
Right.
No positive, no negative. They're just the blood types. I do know, when I look back, I see that there were other civilizations at one point that did not have the negative rhesus factors either, and they were all just like the Aboriginals, but they're not here anymore. And the ones that are here, that are left from them, like the Incas, the Aztec, some of the people from India, all of them have been gotten to. And if you slowly start off here and you inject something into a bloodline, and they marry and have children, and they marry and have children, this is how it gets into the bloodlines. You only need a small group to start with, and then they intermingle, and before you know it, everyone has it.
So you're saying the plus minus was created by the reptilians?
Yes.
Or kind of, yeah.
Yes. The reptilians, they've been doing a lot of tampering. Just remember that it doesn't matter what shell you're in, they are energy beings. It's just that there are just as many evil ones wearing a human shell as there are reptilians or anybody else at that. It just depends on the energy being that resides in that shell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I'm looking right now, the least common blood type I think is AB minus, AB negative blood, like less than 1% or something happen. Okay.
My Aunt Karen is AB negative.
Okay.
My mother is AB positive, so the negative runs in my bloodline. Both my daughters are negative, I'm pretty sure. My one daughter, Wendy, is B negative, and I am B positive. She took a blood test, and I'm pretty sure my other daughter is negative, because my soon-to-be ex-husband, after 3 years in a divorce, he is O negative. His entire family are negative.
Interesting. Yeah. So the entire thing that people are saying, like this negative, this bloodline, that bloodline, whatever, has to do with being a soul or being a star seed or all of that. I don't really buy into. Yeah, I don't think that was
No.
behind it either. Yeah. Okay.
When you come in here, if you're able to pick, because I'm going to put if you're able, because some of us are just slammed back into the reincarnation scheme and you land where you land. But the ones that are being projected in here, you pick what you want to do. You pick where you want to go. You pick the shell that you want to be in.
Now, is there a certain diet according to the blood type?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We really shouldn't be having diets that don't deal with your blood type. Depending on your blood type, some things could be toxic poison that they're pushing. I mean, not everyone can eat the same food. If you're an O type, you're going to have more of a higher protein than you are someone who's going to be AB, because yours is going to be almost all vegetables. Or A, anything from A to AB, you better be eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, because meat's not your best friend. No, it's not. And if you're O, then of course protein is your best friend. And if you're O and you're eating all these vegetables and fruit and you don't have enough meat in your diet, you're going to be sick. You're going to be sick. So B, I happen to be B. B is the only blood type where it has a large variety where you can eat from all spectrums. It's the one thing that we can consume dairy. Almost all the blood types have an issue with dairy except for B, and that's cheese and cottage cheese and yogurt and milk and anything made out of cheese. Something with the B, we can actually assimilate dairy and it doesn't bother us. It's actually good for us. Where O and AB have a really hard time with dairy.
Yeah, because I think I talked to this one girl like half a year ago or so, and she's basically saying that this blood type likes fish more, that one likes that more, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
It really does depend. Now, even if you can have fish, say it's in your blood type, there might be some type of fish you cannot have.
Right.
I mean, it really, you have to research and find out what your blood type is and find out what's healthy for you. You could be eating things that are downright toxic for you. Like
what would be toxic, like for you, or
peanuts? Peanuts. I can't eat peanuts. Oh my God, they're bad. I love raw peanuts, but every time I eat them, I'm on the floor dying. And then I found out that peanuts were a big taboo for me. Actually, the nuts are on my neutral, but peanuts are on my negative. Do you know what blood type you are?
No. Blood type what?
What blood type you carry?
Oh, what I carry? Yeah, I have to look it up again. Actually, I knew it at one point because I was donating blood. So they put it on my little donation pass when I was back in Germany still, but I forgot it. Yeah, I got to look it up somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, and also the rhesus factor has nothing to do. Say if you're B negative or A positive or whatever, B positive, you're still in the same blood group. It doesn't matter about the rhesus factor.
Okay, so if you're like O negative or
then
positive, yes,
doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I gotta look it up again. I don't know.
Yeah, you really do. There's a book that's out, and it's Eat for Your Blood Type.
Okay.
It's a big, thick book, and it really goes into detail on some things, but it's kind of shallow. If you really wanted to see most food, you'd have to do some research, and that's if the research has even been done on everything.
Yeah. It's similar to anything that's good for your body, right? Like all the food that you should be cooking and eating and everything. It's similar also when you want to cook your pet's food, actually.
Yeah. I will tell you this. If you actually dislike something tremendously, it's probably because your body can't handle it.
Yeah.
Say, I don't like lima beans. I can't stand them. Well, maybe that's my body saying, please don't put that toxic poison in there.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. Our bodies know best, of course. Yeah. And then you have all these people following like the vegan agenda when some of them actually really need meat or need protein or those kind of things.
If you're an O type blood, and I don't care if it's positive or negative, the base of your diet should be meat. Period. I don't care if it's in the fish or whatever it is, it needs to be meat.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's very triggering, especially for people who are like very much in that program or agenda, because it's obviously
that's exactly it. a program.
Yeah.
It'll make humans very sick.
Yeah, some are basically almost starved to death. Like sometimes you see people online who are promoting the vegan diet and they're basically starved. I mean,
It's not healthy. If you're not eating, just think about food is thy medicine, and
right.
You're not eating things that your body requires, and you're actually eating things that are toxic poison to you. I don't give a damn what diet is out there. It's going to harm you. You really need to be more informed about your body's needs. And most people have no idea.
Well, the food that we're getting, in addition to all of that, no matter where you are in the world at this point, it basically has like almost no nutrients. You know, you look at tomatoes and those kind of things, they taste awful. I mean, I remember because I was in Germany like a few years ago and spent some months over there again, and the food used to taste so good back home. And people were always proud about European food, you know, being so healthy and whatever, but it legit tasted like water to me because a lot of it was coming like from the greenhouses somewhere in the Netherlands or whatever. And then I spent some time in Australia too, and like the veggies didn't taste good somehow. It was very strange, like they were deprived of nutrients.
I will tell you this. 2 summers ago, I went to Spain for 3 months, and I was down probably about 20 minutes away from Barcelona. I was on one of those resort towns in an Airbnb. And I tell you, they do their food different than we do. They don't use pesticides, they use smoke. They don't do GMOs. And I was there and I was eating the most delicious vegetables and fruits you ever would put in your mouth. I hadn't had that in probably 20 years, and I had forgotten what things actually taste like created normally. Now, their vegetables and fruits were not perfect. They got little things in them and they looked a little off here and there, but the flavor. And I noticed that I was starting to get healthier and healthier, and I needed to eat less and less of it. I'm like, wow, my food intake went down. I was getting healthier. I was getting thinner. I had a lot more energy. I mean, it was like, wow. So Spain, down by Barcelona, they still do it the old-fashioned way. No GMOs, no chemicals. They smoke their fields. They make these like bonfires and they smoke the fields to keep the insects off of them.
What do they use in the smoke? Like some herbs? Like sage, not sage, but something, you know, similar to that. Okay, so Sonia was kicked out again, and did your phone turn off, or were you?
Yeah, it just turned off. It just turned off. What happened was I was on 100% battery. Now they've got some technology that can drain my battery. I went from 100% to 0% in just that little bit of time. That's impossible.
Yeah.
Because I've also got to plugged into the wall.
Yeah, it's intense right now, I know. But okay, so I think I wanted to ask you, what did they use in the bonfire in Spain? Like, did they use certain herbs or like
actually,
or
I think it was whatever kind of wood they have over there. It's like they use branches off the trees. So whatever kind of trees that's available, they didn't do anything special. But what they did was they would strategically place these bonfires depending on the wind. So they know the wind goes one direction normally, and they place them on the field right here, and they make the bonfires long. So they're constantly feeding them, and they'll smoke the vegetation all day long. It's interesting.
Yeah, and that's close to Barcelona in Spain.
Yeah, in Spain.
I stayed in, do you know Lloret de Mar?
Yes, I've been to Lloret de Mar.
I stayed there when I was 14.
I stayed there when I was, I think I was 18 for my or 19. I was almost 19 for my senior trip, but that was back in 1985. That's been a while. But when I went back there a couple years ago, when I went and wow, the place doesn't even look the same anymore.
No.
It's almost 3 times more. They
Oh, really?
built the whole thing on the side where it's all rock and you can walk on the rocks now. And
Yeah.
oh, it's gorgeous.
So now it's gorgeous, or back then it used
Well, it was better back then because they had less buildings and more
Yeah.
seafront and everything was open. But the area where you can go out here by the water, you can walk all through here. They've got a statue there. They've got it all rock, and you can actually walk along the whole rocks now. They
Okay.
made all that new area. It's quite gorgeous.
But it's still like Party Rama over there. It's like a
Yeah.
party. Yeah, that's what it
Oh yeah.
I know, yeah, it's basically like Ibiza or whatever. I don't know. But yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I kind of actually the next time I'm back, if I ever do go back to Spain, I want to go to like Seville or Madrid, like more south where they have the national park too.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot of beautiful areas. Have you been to Gran Canaria or the Canary Islands?
No,
Okay,
no.
those are great. Yeah, but it's once again, it's a lot of party going on there too. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a thing with those European islands, obviously. I don't really know.
My next trip, I'm planning a trip and I'm torn between where I want to go. I already had gone to France a couple of times because there's so much to see in France. It's got all the antiquitech left over there. And
Mhm.
unless you know what you're looking at, you'll just think, oh, old buildings. No, it's so much more. But I also wanted to go to Mexico. I wanted to do all the pyramids and go pyramid hopping.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'm kind of torn where I'm going to go next.
Well, I guess it depends on what you want. If like if you want the pyramids or the other stuff, but
I would really love to go to the pyramids.
yeah.
I know they're not the same as the the pyramid in Giza is not the same as the other pyramids because they're step pyramids.
Mm-hmm.
Not the same. I could go into the pyramid itself being
Yeah. It's interesting because I actually have not been to the ones in Egypt yet, but I kind of keep getting that they're not the ones. Ancient Egypt wasn't necessarily there. Some people are saying like Antarctica was down there or whatever, and other people are saying it's actually in the Grand Canyon or in the U.S.
a lot of pyramids. I mean, I could start by saying this was a one unified place at one time. That's why you have star forts everywhere. That's why you have
the star
pyramids
forts
everywhere.
I wanted to talk about the star forts because we didn't get to those in the last one. Okay, let's talk about the pyramids first, I guess.
Okay, so when I look at the pyramids, I see that there were three big major powerhouse pyramids. One is in China, one is the Giza pyramid, and the other one is in Antarctica.
Yeah.
And they were three big. Now you're not going to know about the one in China because they're not going to tell you about it unless you can find it in the book in Chinese. And good luck with that because I'm sure they don't. You're not going to know about the one in Antarctica because there's nobody has written anything about that either. So, well, they have, but of course that's someplace else. You're not going to get your hands on it.
Right.
So the only one we really know about is the one in Giza because it's right there. You can't hide it.
But is that really the original one? Because similar to like Stonehenge and everything, they kind of rebuilt or built stuff on it like in the 50s, And
actually, Giza is original. The China one is original, and the one in Antarctica original. But there's other pyramids everywhere. We've even got them under the oceans, and they're just now discovering because we didn't have all that water in here at one time.
Right.
But the one that they built in China, the one they built in Giza, and the one they built in South Antarctica, whatever, they're the ones that actually took down this reality. I don't think anyone really knows about it, but they were weapons. They were disguised. They had two functions. One function was, and I did videos on this, where they were marvels. They energized the water and made it live water. They did a soil generating thing, and they also energized the ether above and below, because with each pyramid that was made, they have a Merkabah body on them, which is an energetic pyramid going the other direction. which is like the Star of David.
Mhm.
These are all based off of the Star of David. And I don't even know if anybody knows this because they can't see the Merkabah body on the pyramids. So when they designed them, they used the Merkabah body to take down this reality, to literally take it down from the marvel that it was. I mean, there's just where to even begin. It was like they built something and everyone helped build it. Not what you were told. There wasn't the million slaves doing this and doing this. It wasn't built like that at all. It was all done with anti-gravity because we had the cones and the rods. They're all over the ground. Michael Tallinger figured out that anti-gravity tools they look like prehistoric tools, but if you put them together, they create an anti-gravity atmosphere where things don't weigh much. Just like how Ed Leedskalnin in Coral Castle created Coral Castle. He knew the secret and he used it to build his castle in Florida. But basically, it was the facade of what it was going to be, which was beneficial, but then the dark agenda behind it also with that Merkabah body. And nobody knows about that because I don't even know if it's written anywhere. I have no idea.
So the Merkabah body is what exactly?
Okay, a Merkabah body, everything has a Merkabah body. It's your energetic and your physical body. They look like a pyramid and then an upside down pyramid, and it turns 2 different directions.
Okay, so like the Star of David.
Energy. Yes.
Is it like the Star of David or does it look different?
It looks just like the Star of David.
Okay, gotcha. It's one and the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Star of David. Okay, let me just pull here the picture up. Yeah, because the Star of David is actually also pretty protective if you use it as a protective symbol or something. It's interesting, right? Like all these symbols that you know, certain countries use and like religions and all of that too. Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at it right now. Okay. So the Merkabah, so does it, like in the sense of the pyramids, does it kind of extend into the ground somehow?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
our pyramid, we only see a part of it. It goes way deep, and then there's chambers. But it makes because of how it was designed, it makes an energetic Merkabah body, and that goes down, even way further than the pyramid itself. It's crazy. And what it does is it energetically, with the ley lines above and below, because we have them both ways, it actually does is spinning, and it's all on an energetic field. And if you had vision that wasn't so limited, you could actually see the energy coming out of the pyramid, and it goes up and it goes down, and it energizes the whole area. They're not fully working. They're like half functioning right now. Okay. Because they've had things taken off of them.
Okay.
I believe there is some kind of capstone that's missing. And I keep thinking that it's the Bam Bam stone or the Bim Bim stone or whatever it's called. And if that capstone was to be put back on, they would be full and functioning.
You mean on top of the pyramid?
Yep.
Okay, so because there are videos out there where they're saying the Sphinx is that, I think that's the pyramid of Giza, unless it's a different pyramid in Egypt. The Sphinx is fake or not real or something like that.
What happened is
it's a different animal.
Yeah, it's Anubis. It was Anubis.
Oh.
Think about it. Anubis was the prime character in the Egyptian mythologies. Well, not really mythologies, but we'll just call it that. Archaeologies even. Think about who is the prime person, Anubis. What is Anubis for? The underworld, coming and going out of this reality. And so, of course, it would be Anubis. And it's also something to do with the dog star, wherever it was, lined up.
That's Sirius?
Yeah.
But so what's up with Sirius? Because this entire Lionsgate thing, like a lot of people who were following that agenda, it was all about Sirius and all of that. And then astrologers kind of debunked that Sirius does not align with the sun and the earth and all of that during that time. So
I really don't know much about any of that. It was never, I never really got into it.
Yeah, it was all just another psyop or program. The entire Lionsgate thing, at least. But with the Sirius star, where would that be?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because I really don't do what is that, astrology?
Yeah,
Is that astrology?
I guess.
Yeah, I don't really know much about astrology. I thought it was interesting, but I never took it anywhere. I never went anywhere with it.
Yeah.
I was always looking at other things that interested me.
Yeah,
I really need to, nail my feet to the ground and start looking into astrology, because astrology, believe it or not, it has a lot of meaning in this sim we're in, and there's a lot of stuff you can get from it. I just am very defunct in that area.
Yeah, I'm skeptical towards astrology because, as some people know, I have a twin sister and we're like 15 minutes apart. And
Wow.
her personality and my personality are so different that, I mean, we basically have the exact same chart in that sense, almost the exact same chart. That I'm just like, something's not right here. I don't believe it has to do with, I don't know. I just started questioning astrology a long time ago because of stuff like that. And then you have astrologers saying, oh, you're just playing out the opposite ends of each other's chart. And I'm like, no, that doesn't really resonate with me either. So whatever.
And what happens when they had that new symbol come in, Orpheus? Or
oh yeah,
the
13th sign. Yeah. And everyone.
How does that work?
I know. Well, if you look at the 12 signs, the 12, like, the 12 months, the 12 zodiacs, the 12 this and that, they keep everything to 12, even though by nature, 12 makes no sense. Like the months used to be called different. Like, October used to be like the 8th month or whatever, or they only had like 10 months. And then they kind of just added, which made more sense by natural means too. So pushing everything to 12 months and 12 zodiacs, but then now they're adding a 13th one. I don't know. Maybe the 13th one is more natural in that sense. I have no idea, or maybe not.
I have no idea. I don't do astrology.
Yeah, same.
I'm out of my element. I really don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I was just never really attracted to it.
Yeah, same. But back to the pyramids. Okay, so have you been to the Pyramid of Giza?
No.
Okay.
I have never physically been to that pyramid. I have stumbled across other pyramids, and they are not mentioned because there's actually quite a few pyramids that are being labeled mountains.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
When I was down in Spain, I can't remember the name of the town. It was like 10 minutes out of Barcelona. There is this monster mountain that looks like a perfect pyramid. I kept taking pictures of it. And every time I got close to it, I started feeling pulled energetically. And it's like, there's a pyramid under there. And these people don't even know it.
Right. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah. Spain makes a lot of sense too, actually. There's a lot in Spain. Spain used to be a very powerful nation and everything, but whatever. Yeah. Same with.
Yeah. I was going on the beach one day and we had this storm of the century come through. It tore up the beaches. Oh God, it was bad. And on the beach ended up this huge rock. It was all cut and it had a round thing in it and it looked like a part of a mechanism. I have the picture and I will send it to you. And it's like, WTF? What is this? This is a part of it. And I went and I touched it. I'm like, this is a part of a working mechanism. So what's out there in that Mediterranean Sea?
What do you think about the Grand Canyon and pyramids over there? Have you heard about that theory?
Yes, I have heard about that. I've actually kind of remote viewed some of it. They have psychic traps over there. Somebody has put in some psychic traps because in the mountain, when you go into it, it takes you down into the inner earth. It's a way out. There are several ways out of here. One is on Australia. One is in the Grand Canyons, the Bermuda Triangle. There's one in the Great Lakes. There are places to get out of here. Some of them are physical where you can walk and some of them are portals where you can just, if you meet the frequency you can just walk through or go through or what have you. But that's one of the entrances out of here, because there are quite a few.
And so in the Grand Canyon is what you're saying, when you just walk down the right path.
This is why it's all blocked off. It's not just that there's artifacts and it would go against the given narrative,
right?
But because you could actually leave.
Right. Yeah. What kind of artifacts do they have down there, though?
Oh, it would be just like going into Giza.
Okay.
Different. You would have the big, tall carved statues that don't quite look human.
Because basically this plane used to all be the same, and then it kind of did it just splinter off into these different continents or whatever?
No, it's still the same. It's just that water came in. Don't even think of it as continents. Think of it as flooding, because everything's this whole thing that they're selling you that you're on a floating continent. No, you're not. You're on one big area that's land. But when you bring the water in, now I'm going to spin the story. We're on continents. Yeah. And our continents are shifting and this and this. No, they're not. Volcanoes aren't even what you think they are. And tsunamis, they're being created by the militaries. Right. I mean, they're not what you think they are. It's weaponry. Most people that would just go over their head.
You go to all these different places here in the countries, like certain places in Australia look exactly the same that they do in upstate New York. And you have stuff like the Namibian desert looks exactly the same as certain places in Utah and Arizona. So it makes sense. Yeah, it's all the same. It's just like different languages spoken in those places and maybe different wildlife. But speaking of wildlife, so what do you think about this entire thing that, wildlife is going extinct? For example, the rhinos in Africa and those kind of things, because I was actually volunteering for this wildlife company for a few years, and they were based in South Africa. And they were so passionate about, oh my gosh, we have to dehorn the rhinos so that the poachers don't get to them, and lions and all of that's going extinct. But I'm like, they keep telling us it's going to go extinct, and here we are 10, 20 years later, and they're still not extinct. So it almost felt like a whole different thing that was going on somehow. But
I will tell you what I see when I look into this, because I love nature, and I don't want everything going around me and me being left here all alone. And I'm talking insects, animals. 80% of our insects are gone. Okay. Most of our species that are mammal and even amphibian, they're gone. They started probably about 30 years ago when they started heavy chemtrailing. We started losing our frogs because they wear their skin is different than ours. They absorb everything, and it killed the frogs first. With the heavy chemtrailing, you cannot keep putting all this crap into the soil, into the ground. If you look at the trees, most of them are becoming hollow. I think I've had this conversation with you last time we were talking. I might not have, where the chemtrails are actually causing the AIDS to act like the trees to act like they have AIDS. It's coagulating the sap, where your sap has to be liquidy to protect from the insects, because that's the protection so that insects don't destroy the trees. And so with all the heavy metals, the trees are becoming laden with this stuff, and it can't get away from it anymore. And it's starting to diminish the trees, the sap, so it can't protect itself. And then you're realizing that the inside of the trees are mostly hollow. You can't count the rings anymore because there's no rings. The bugs are infiltrating and destroying these trees. And that's not even to mention with the energy rising, the Samvartica fires. There's a guy named Jeff Schneider. He goes out. He has a channel on YouTube, and he's been documenting the Samvartica fires starting. And that's where the energy is rising. And with all the heavy metals in the trees, it's catching them on fire from the root up. So the tree can be on fire on the inside, and you won't even know the tree's on fire. And then they've had firefighters cutting the trees down, and there's a huge fire inside of the tree. And that's from the energy. If they hadn't chemtrailed, odds are the trees wouldn't have caught on fire as easily as they do now. But now it's getting so bad with the Samvartica fires, tree posts are catching on fire. Fence posts, everything's starting to catch on fire now. They're trying to make so much crap in the mafia media so you don't see what's happening in your environment.
Where's
And I think so.
Where's Jeff Schneider at? Which part?
Jeff Schneider is on YouTube.
Yeah, but which part of the country or?
Oh, this is the lovely thing about Jeff Schneider. He's a truck driver.
Oh, okay.
He travels the country.
Okay.
So he's finding Samvartica fires over multiple states.
Yeah.
Not just anywhere.
Yeah, they're all over. Those are the fires that you had like in Oregon, California, and those kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's Arizona, Texas. I don't know where he travels, but I would definitely check out his channel. I know sometimes he likes to go off the deep end because he gets so angry about this reality. And but if you can go into the videos where he's documented the Samvartica fires, you'd be very surprised, and all the different states he's been through being a truck driver.
And those states a few years ago, even like especially Texas and Utah and all of those, they weren't even really having fires. So it's almost as soon as all the Californians migrated over there and brought all the money and energy, whatever, in there, they started having all these wildfires. Like they have them now all around Yellowstone National Park, Glacier National, which is like Montana, Wyoming, all of that.
I've also noticed when I'm walking around in my area, and I'm in Delaware, I'm seeing burnt trees that have fallen over, and you can see they've been burnt on the inside. Now we're in a pretty state. The only reason it doesn't catch on fire is because we get a lot of rain.
Yeah, actually,
it's still burning.
It's interesting you're saying that, because I was in around Asheville in North Carolina last year, and I saw a similar all around the Appalachian Trail or whatever. Which, it extends like from north to south and all of that. But back then in August 2021, they had a lot of rain in North Carolina. But I was walking along that trail, just hiking around, and there were a lot of burnt trees. And I was like, what's going on here? Like, is this? Yeah. So
it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is it will get to the point where we have the red skies, and that's all she wrote.
The what? The red
skies.
Oh, the red skies.
Yeah. Ever hear about the Hopi legend of the Kachinas, the blue Kachina and the red Kachina?
Okay.
Red skies. When the red skies come, and they've already started, they had it a couple of places already. One was in China where they filmed it, and then they tried to play it off. No. It's slowly starting to build.
Yeah.
The Samvartica fires will end up turning into the red skies, when you will have electricity coming from the ground. It will be crawling. It's going to end up melting everything. Nothing will be able to survive. And these are your true monster resets, where you have brick that's melted, buildings that are melted that look like rock.
Right.
Or you have castles that look like they're built in rock. No, they're not built in rock. They turned to rock.
Right. The cathedral rock and everything that used to be cathedral, like all over Arizona, Utah.
Have you ever heard of Archaics, Jason?
Yeah. I don't.
Oh, everybody, please go check out Jason. He's got a lot of things to say about that. He talks about a phoenix weapon. I had seen this thing, and I had done a couple videos that led up to the phoenix weapon, and it dealt with the crystal skulls, that they're a part of it too, and that there are monitoring systems connected to the phoenix weapon that's in the sky, and it's not in our dimension, which is why we don't see it. And every so many years, like clockwork, you can have small resets to the big mother of all resets. And it goes from there. I suggest everyone check him out, because it's too much information to go into. Oh my
gosh. Now just back to the pyramids again.
Okay.
Because I think it's very interesting personally. So the pyramid in Giza and everything in Egypt at this point is quite infiltrated or hijacked or whatever you want to call it, especially with the mass tourism over there. and
Oh gosh, yes. Oh
people
gosh.
shown stuff that I think is really not that ancient or whatever. But how old do you think this Giza pyramid is? Or like
It's one of the, okay, the first things here where we are were the pyramids and the star forts. Everyone seems to think that the star forts are much later, but no, they're all
Okay.
around the same time. They were all built around the same time. It was the pyramids, the star forts, and the obelisks. And then the openings, which were portals, you know, those, what do you call those things? They're like, they have them in France, they have them in different countries. They're like, they kind of look like a horseshoe, kind of but they're square and they're huge and they're like an entrance. Those were actually portal openers, depending on the star fort that you have. Say you have a simple star fort and it's only just simple. You could use the portal to just go around from your area. And it would be like, beam me up, Scotty. But it was just an open portal through the energies you could walk through and be in another part of wherever. Then you have the star forts that are much more, all the way up to 6 star forts. It looks like there's 6 stars in a star. Those are actually for going out of Gaia completely onto another cosmic egg. So depending on the star fort, like if I had like a double or a triple star fort, I could go from here to the Americas if I was over there in, you know, Europe somewhere, or I could go from Europe or wherever, or maybe Africa. I could transverse depending on how intricate those star forts are. But the ones that are the most intricate, and there were only a few, go even out of this cosmic entire egg, because there are other cosmic eggs out there. You call them universes.
And do you think the pharaohs and everything are connected to that? Like the Egyptian sagas of gods and pharaohs? Or is that like something else that came after? And they
I think at one point in this snow globe, all people had these technologies. It wasn't just them and just them. It was just a given. It's just like, does everybody have a cell phone?
Right.
Of course.
It's like a walking god somehow. Everyone. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Okay, interesting. So actually, I wanted to ask you about the Amish, because you were mentioning them in a few videos already. It's a completely different topic. But you're kind of close to them, right? Like close.
Yeah, like right across the street.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're not exactly across the street, but I could be at an Amish farm in 5 minutes.
Yeah. You were saying they're the ones that aren't infiltrated or something like that. They have like the original genes, original DNA, or what?
They are a part of our species that's set on the side from the beginning of this last reset that would not be tampered with. So everyone else can be tampered with, doing all kinds of things to them, but they were given a bunch of rules and regulations that they would never be a part of that, so they would be kept in their purity of an experiment. So if you damage, say you wanted to chimera all these human beings, you want to keep your base human being though, because you need a base to always have. You don't want to pollute it.
The control group.
Amish, yes.
Yeah. Have you heard about the Hasidic Jews?
No, not too much.
Here in New York, because it kind of, when you were talking about that, it kind of reminded me of them too, because they actually have their own little community and everything here, but also I think in Israel or whatever. And they don't really buy into the entire, you know, injecting their kids from an early age on. And but it's different. It's not like the Amish. It's actually different, you know. And so I'm not really sure if you can compare those two somehow. But they also don't use cell phones or anything. Like they have, some of them have flip phones, but they don't really, you know, they're pretty traditional still, but maybe it's different from.
Yeah, the Amish are completely, as you know, completely off the grid.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
They have no electricity. They have no vehicles like that. They deal with animals and buggies, and they grow their own thing. They do not buy seeds from us. They have their own stock. They are completely independent. They might as well be a country in their own.
Yeah, and they're growing too. I had to
Yes.
look that one up because I was doing research on them and everything. So they've grown. I think at this point, was it 200,000 or I don't even know, but they definitely grew substantially over the past 30 years or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was also reading the real estate prices in Delaware and that area kind of went up. So they had to migrate to Virginia, or I don't even know.
Yeah. Well, the one good thing about being off the grid is you never owe the filthy government taxes because you're not a straw man. You don't owe them anything. They don't own you. And so when you buy your property, you don't pay taxes because you're not a part of that system. You don't have a birth certificate. You don't have a social security card. They cannot tax you. They do not own you. They're on the old constitution.
Yeah, I heard they don't pay taxes in that too. Not sure how that plays out in real life, but I have no idea.
They actually do not require our Babylonian cursed money system because they have their own systems. They are completely self-supporting. They don't need nor require us or anything we have to offer. No, they don't.
I did hear when someone has to go to the hospital, they do kind of all chip in together somehow. I don't know, like with the Amish, so I'm not sure.
You will not see Amish in hospitals. They
Yeah.
have their own. True Amish will never intermingle with the English.
Yeah. But then
They won't. They have their medicine doctors. They have their birthing midwives. They are completely self-sufficient. You will never, in all the years that I've lived in Maryland, because we got Amish too, I would never see an Amish in a hospital. That's never going to happen. The Mennonites, maybe, because the Mennonites are one stage removed from the Amish, and they have vehicles and they will go grocery shopping, but they're not true Amish.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's different types. I remember that. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, off the grid. Completely off the grid. Yeah. Okay, so I feel there was more someone asked something in regards to meds, actually, taking medication for like psychological disorders, like let's just say bipolar or depression or whatever. So I just kind of got that pharma puts stuff in it that makes entities attach and all of that, in addition to all the other crap. But
I have a big thing about anything that's going to mess with they make this stuff up. This pharmaceutical companies, they make this stuff up. They indoctrinate all their doctors into their pharmaceutical crap.
Yeah.
And they make it up and they pump it. And I'm going to tell you, most of the time, if you're bipolar or something like this, it all comes down to, and this is going to sound ridiculous, your diet. Your diet. A lot of your issues are your diet. And then they're going to pump you full of crap. Think about all the stuff that they give to Americans that are banned in other countries because they're harmful and detrimental. Our fast food, our junk food, our box food, our canned food, that stuff can cause great damage. And I'm sure a lot of it has to do with your brain chemicals. And so they make you sick intentionally so they can sell you their snake poisons, because that's what I call them, snake poisons, even though they've actually patented snake venom and the neurotoxins in shellfish and starfish and snakes. Where do you think they need all those neurotoxins patented for? To use on you and me.
That's why the entire ADHD, ADD, and autism and all of that has really gone up, over the past 20.
And the heavy metals that are in those shots that cause your brain to malfunction.
Yeah, that too.
Even separate your brain. I do know that autistic people have more to do with AI and can communicate with AI more than they can communicate to the person sitting next to them. If you talk to somebody who's autistic on the phone, you'll have a better conversation. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I feel autistic people are sometimes also just you know, artists themselves. So they're really good at drawing artistic stuff or creating all these artistic, I feel it's just different outlets too. You know, if you were to just give them a different outlet from the mainstream school and all of that, they would thrive differently. But it's some is just too extreme to really function in society too. So it makes you wonder why they want to turn people into that as well in the long run. Yeah.
Well, if you're AI and you need to have a bunch of bots out there.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, if you do look at people, how people interact nowadays, like a lot of times they can't even really look you in the eye. There's like, you know, like you go to a grocery store or whatever. I always like to compare it with those examples because that's when I have like the most telltale interactions. It's just like, this person's not even looking me in the eye. It's just what's going on here. Yeah.
I find that quite unnerving when somebody talks to me and they're over here talking to me. I'm like,
oh yeah,
I'm here, not there, not there, not here. If you don't really want to talk to me, go.
Now
I find it very rude.
Yeah. Do the Amish, when you go to the Amish for whatever, for getting food or whatever, do they actually look at you?
Directly in the face, right in the eyes. And
Yeah.
they never sway their gaze unless they're walking away. So basically the whole time they're talking to you or they're addressing you, those eyes meet your eyes and they don't look away.
Because some don't like to interact with the English or whatever, right?
The only ones that are truly not going to look at you are going to be the true Amish, and they will have no interaction. The Mennonites, of course, they're going to be looking at you. It's very rare that you're going to come across an Amish that you're going to have an interaction with because they don't interact with you. They don't.
Yeah, I don't really know. I think I was communicating with the Mennonites or whatever you call them.
Mennonites.
Yeah.
Now Mennonites, they're the ones that sell you whatever.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are in the business.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Amish have no business with the English.
Right. Yeah, it's very interesting. The entire community is so interesting. I don't know. It's like a whole nother rabbit hole. Yeah.
I just didn't want to be Amish. I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't want to be Mennonite or Amish, and I tell you why. I like my full functioning bathroom. I like my hot water and my toilet, and I don't have to worry about it. I like the fact I have air conditioning.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't handle these summers without air conditioning. It's too unbearable. I like my washing machine and my dryer. I like my amenities, my refrigerator. I wouldn't want to be Amish or Mennonite. No, thank you.
Are women in that culture still, you know, kind of suppressed and everything? Like they have to wear their little bonnet and yeah, I don't know. You hear a lot of
just put it this way. Wouldn't want to be them as a woman.
Yeah.
Wouldn't want to. No. Just because they're off grid and they're not having to deal with what we have, they have their own set of issues.
Yeah, I do think
it's still
so.
a type of, I think of them as a type of cult. I mean, you know.
Oh, really?
We have all kinds of cults. Oh yeah, I do think of them as a type of cult. When you can't grow and you're pretty stagnated, I think of it as a cult. Everyone should be allowed to grow as a being.
Yeah. And aren't they part of a religious group? That's how they came about.
Oh yeah, they're extremely religious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this one person who founded them back in 1600, he was like Amin or I don't forget his last name. That's how the Amish came about. Yeah.
I think that I don't think I should say I know that this was deliberately done to keep a part of humanity in a purer form.
Yeah. Which I do think they are for sure. I mean, I mean, you look at people nowadays, like we were just saying, and you look at people. Yeah, no, I do believe that. You know, it's so funny because when I was in Mexico in 2020, I actually came across a group of Amish or Mennonites or whatever you call them. Because they must have traveled from the US to Mexico in a plane. So probably not the original Amish, but the other one. Yeah. But there was a group of like 20 of them in Cancun. Like right at the bus terminal. They were trying to take a tour somewhere, or probably go to their location where they were staying for a week or whatever.
Oh my.
Yeah, it was actually quite funny because you could really recognize them, the way they were dressing and all of that.
Yeah, they would be Mennonite because the
Yeah.
Mennonite are the ones that always do the monetary system with us.
Yeah, and those would be the ones that would also take like a plane ride or whatever, as long as someone else drives that car or drives that plane, or yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was funny. It was very funny. I was confused at first because back in the days I used to confuse the Amish with the Mormons and all. Yeah, which is a whole nother.
I do know that every single Mennonite that I've ever come across, Laura, they are the friendliest people.
Yeah.
The Mennonites are extremely friendly, and they just have this happiness about them. I've never come across a grumpy Mennonite.
Right. Yeah.
No, never.
Yeah. But yeah, you were talking about Mexico. Where would you want to go in Mexico? Which part? Do you know?
I would probably go to the Sun Pyramid, and then from there I would start going down to all the other pyramids, and probably eventually end up at the Moon Pyramid.
Where are those? Which area? Is that close to Mexico City, or is that somewhere else?
Yeah, the one closest to Mexico City, that pyramid over here is, I think that's the biggest pyramid, the Sun Pyramid. I would start there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, I would just go south to all the rest of the pyramids because they go south.
Yeah. They have a lot. Yeah, they have a lot in Oaxaca too. And Quintana Roo also has some. So you have different types of pyramids. So you have like the Zapotec, the Aztec, and the Mayans. So it's just, yeah.
Yeah. And there are actually pyramids everywhere, but of course they're disguised.
Yeah.
They've got dirt on them. A lot of them are in the ocean. We have a lot of pyramids in the Pacific Ocean, but they're under lots of water. And they haven't even talked about them. Our governments know about all these places because of the submarines.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about the islands, the Pacific Islands?
I think that there are islands that some of them are quite big that are not on our map. They're not on our Google. They've been hidden. There's a lot of stuff hidden, actually. Our Google is nothing but CGI.
Right.
Of course, when you get down to a certain thing, if you can, like your neighborhood, of course, that's real, where they've taken pictures over and then put it in and overlaid it. But a lot of Google is CGI, and they can do whatever they want. They can hide whole areas.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Was there anything you wanted to talk about? We're already like 1.5 hours in, so.
Oh. No, if anything you want to know, that's fine. But if you can't think of anything right now, we'll just have to make another video another day.
I know, yeah. Actually, the Pacific Islands, just to go back into that shortly, is that, the entire cultures there, like the native Hawaiians and the native, I don't know, Tahitians or whatever.
Tahiti, yeah.
Yeah. So someone told me, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, that they started building. So let's just take Hawaii as an example. They're building these towers in Hawaii, close to the cliffs, and in native Hawaiian belief, in order to make it to the next realm when you die, you have to you have to jump off of that cliff, as a ghost or as a soul in spirit, kind of like a ritual to get to the other side. So they're putting these towers on there, so that kind of, as AI, it would trap the spirit to kind of not jump off of it, obviously, because it generates a field around it. So they're really trying to, so they're really trying to get to those native Hawaiian souls or spirits so that they can't really, ascending to the next realm or making it to the next realm. I don't even know what you want to call it in that sense, but the afterlife, basically.
Yeah. And then you have to question, since I'm always saying this is a sim, do you want to have another incarnation in any part of this sim?
Right.
Do you want out of the sim altogether?
Yeah, I don't even know where these native and what the native Hawaiians belief is, like where they go to next and everything. But I just kind of felt like they were just trying to get to those souls somehow and trap them here indefinitely through those mechanisms.
Oh yeah.
Which they're also
Is going on.
yeah, which they're also trying to get to like the entire Hawaiian islands, you know, with whatever's going on right now, like the real estate blowing up and all of that.
Yeah.
That they can't afford to live there and all, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's this whole inflation, and this is for the whole snow globe.
Yeah.
Has been done to further enslave. I mean, if you look at inflation, why are you having inflation when the wages haven't moved?
Yeah.
Not really.
Makes no sense.
I mean, you're having triple and quadruple inflation and your wages are still the same.
And also the gas prices are predetermined like a few years in advance anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you're seeing now, you shouldn't even feel the effect until 2 years from now, if there really was a gas shortage or whatever.
What if, and I'm going to say what if, you were going to bring out a whole new type of energy, and I'm not talking electric cars, something completely different, and fossil fuels would not be needed anymore. What would you do knowing this is coming? Would you hike everything up and try to milk it for everything it's worth before it happens?
You think they're trying to bring on a whole new system in 2 or 3 years?
I think a whole new system is coming. I see a whole new system coming, and it's going to deal with magnetics. It's going to deal with toroidal fields. It's going to deal with a closed system, and you will not be putting anything into it to make it work. And it's going to be the end of fossil fuel, every type, because this system, once it goes into vehicles, it's going to transfer to homes, this, that, the other. So what would you do if you knew this was coming and you own some of those big oil fields? You try to do whatever you can to get as much as you can to rape before you're pretty much out of luck. There'll come a day where you can't give it away. Nobody will want it.
But they also have way more oil than they say they do, right?
Just think of Gaia, and Gaia has living blood, sentient blood, and we would call that crude oil. You can go to oil fields that were dry and wait 10 years, 15 years, and they're filled back up again. Do you think the dinosaurs and the vegetation grew itself back and refilled those oil fields? Yeah, what lies we have spun to make you believe something so I can rape you financially. I'm going to tell you that oil is rare. You know, oil should have ran out in the 70s. Oh, what are we in, 2022?
Oh, were they spinning that tail back in the 70s already?
In the 70s, we were going to run out. They shut the gas pumps down. We don't have enough. We don't have enough. We don't have enough. The fields are empty. It's all coming to an end. They jacked the prices up, and then there you go. How many years later? And we have the same, what?
The same with global warming and everything too.
Global warming. Oh my God. It's something to say. It's ridiculous. If you actually take the cold days in the year and the cold days from 60 years ago, it's the same. But if I tell you it because I'm the propaganda media, will you believe it?
But what about the really hot summer days? So that's really because they're trying to get to the farmers too.
Yeah, remember we have weather warfare, and it's called harp on wheels.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to damage something, your best weapon is weather warfare. I can see the atmosphere where you don't get rain for a month or 2 months or 3 months. And even if it's hot, without the rain, it's going to seem even worse because you need the rain. So actually, isn't the heat that's the problem? It's the lack of rain, the lack of moisture, because they're seeding the atmosphere so that everything dies, because it's still the same heat. Now factor out the rain. There's your culprit. It's the rain. We have to relook at this. It's not the heating up, because it's always hot there.
Right.
It's the lack of rain.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's a lot going on. I think we covered quite a bit in this interview at least, but yeah, if anyone has any questions for another interview or whatever, they can always put them down below too. I hope it stays up. If you do air it on your channel, I hope it stays up on your channel.
I'm trying not to say anything too
I
demonstrative, but
know.
you never know, because they love to just, nope, you're gone. 2-week strike.
You're getting 2 weeks at this point, or 3 weeks?
Well, I won't be, because I think my last strike finally went off.
That's good. Yeah.
But you know, they can go back and strike something in my past.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
Yeah. On my backup channel.
Yeah, I'm on the backup channel on Odyssey.
Oh yeah, right. Yes, you're on Odyssey too.
I'm on Odyssey because Campbell's like, Sonia, you got to get a backup channel. And it's like, oh, he goes, why don't you do Odyssey? Because everything that you upload onto YouTube automatically would upload onto Odyssey, because they have some kind of communal thing going on there. And so he's the one that basically told me, go to Odyssey, Sonia, you better do something before you're gone. That's
true. And I think the stuff that stays, like that's taken down from YouTube, even stays on Odyssey somehow. So
yes, it does.
Good. Yeah.
Because I've had videos taken down and they're still standing on Odyssey.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about BitChute, or not really?
No, someone had told me that I need to go to more platforms, but I'm so neglective lately.
Yeah.
You know, I just haven't been doing videos hardly anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, I don't want more platforms. Whoever is going to see it is meant to see it. Other than that, it is what it is.
That is true. And it has been really tough lately too, you know, like the past few months. I feel they're really energetically getting to a lot of people, like a lot of people having darker thoughts, or just, you know, like all of that, even though the restrictions have lifted finally, at least for a short amount of time, or whenever they, you know, decide.
Well, my thing is that I'm going through people in my family. My husband, he's in the process of passing away. Slowly. I mean, it's terrible. And then my one brother across the street is having all kinds of problems because they all took their
I say jibbity jabbity Jew. I try to bring some humor into the situation by just randomly naming it strange things. But it's.
So I'm actually, I wanted to go traveling, and he had another episode where he ended up in the hospital because they just put a pacemaker in him a couple weeks ago, and it's not working because it's not the pacemaker, it's this. And it's really curtailed me from doing anything, because if anything happens, I'm still married. I'll have to handle everything. I'll have to handle the funeral. I'll have to handle the Chrysler pension, because it'll go into my name then, because I'm 35 years married. And then there's the house, and it's just a lot. And I don't want to take a chance of being abroad and he passes away and I have to just turn around and I'll have spent all this money for the airfare. I'll have to buy another ticket, because you know you have to buy a round trip ticket. And then if I stay in Airbnbs, I'm staying at a month at a time because it's cheaper. I just financially don't want to do this yet, because I don't know where I stand.
Well, I hope it kind of, I mean, I hope by the time you do that trip, the restrictions are not coming back in terms of the testing and all of that too.
Oh, and of course, I won't shove that graphene oxide up into my brain barrier. And I'm going to add this in. I don't know if it'll get us kicked off. They started adding a new element to the things that go up your nose, and it's parasites, and it's like maggots on your brain. It'll eat your brain away, because that's what I've been seeing is happening in people.
Really?
You know, you have the two hemispheres. With the new thing, parasites are being added that, and they're starting to eat both lobes. You can still be alive with those brains being eaten away. It isn't until they get into your mammalian part of your brain, which runs all your automated systems, that you will finally die. But can you imagine?
Wait, how long ago did they do that? Like recently?
Recently, like in the last 5 months, 6 months.
Oh, really?
They started putting it on the swabs now, that new element.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, people are talking about restrictions maybe coming back in Europe in fall or whatever. I'm not really sure. I guess we'll see.
Well, if things go the way they should go, that won't be allowed to happen. Right now is the last ditch effort to try to catch as many as possible to get them to pass away.
Right.
the thing with these swabs is very disturbing because you can look up parasitic things that go into your brain and eat your brain away. And the list is quite long. And that is in our reality, but the odds of you getting it are not very often. But if it's put someplace where it can go through your blood-brain barrier, well, there you go.
Yeah, actually, I had this question on my one video, and they were like, well, if they need us as slaves or whatever, why are they trying to depopulate? And something like that. Yeah.
It's pretty much becoming a wash. They
Yeah.
have their set of slaves. Let's call them the Amish. We are expendable.
Gotcha. So they already have enough people.
Yeah.
The rest is just, or is it like these different factions or whatever that are just in conflict?
I will put one more thing in there, the chimeraing. They are also chimeraing a part of our populace.
Mm.
And that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. All right, maybe time for another video or whatever. Maybe you'll make one on it on your channel. Yeah.
Yeah, I might have to. I'm getting to where that I really, I don't know. I don't know. I've been wanting to put my channel down for the last year, and I haven't been able to because I'm just still needed here to do this. So there are actually quite a few subjects I could talk about and go into depth, but I don't know how long they'll stand.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things why I stopped, really slowed down doing videos, because it's like, wait a minute, I could say this and I could say all of this, and then it could last for 2 seconds and I've got a strike.
Right. Yeah. It's frustrating. All right. I'll direct people towards that though. I'll put the link below, and I guess we'll leave it at that for now. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you, Laura.
Okay.